So when we're moving around in the world, when we're getting stuff done, when we are working through that agenda of things we've got to do today, an awful lot of that is going to be done through our musculoskeletal system, through our bodies, through our muscles, through our joints, through our bones, our ligaments, our tendons, all that kind of stuff. And I guess what I really want to talk about in this video is how do we look after that part of us? If our brain is like the race car driver, our body is like the racing car. And as soon as we get a flat tyre, or as soon as the pistons stop firing well, then we're just not going to be able to get those decent lap times and not going to be able to function well. So what do you do in terms of the maintenance of your racing car? What do you do to look after your musculoskeletal system? So I guess there's sort of three real things that I want to focus on for this short video. And the first one is that musculoskeletal system needs good movement. It needs not to be locked in that position all the time, or at least if it is locked in that position a lot of the time, because that's what the demands of your job are, that sometimes you take it to places that it doesn't normally go. That you put in a variety of movement to keep it, to keep that variety there, because the musculoskeletal system absolutely loves variety, and it doesn't do well at all with stagnating and staying in the same place over and over again. And what it also needs, it needs really good rest. So exercise, for example, is a lot of energy out. When you come home from work at the end of a long day, you've given a lot of energy out, and what you want is to be able to get plenty of energy back into the musculoskeletal system so that you can wake up refreshed the following morning and crack on and do it all again. So we need lots of movement, we need good quality rest, and we also need good food and good water. So good food tends to be natural food. If it came out of factory, it's going to be really hard work for your body. It's going to be difficult to get a lot of nutrition out of it, so that's not going to fuel your body well. So if you could get your food from a farm, you're doing much better than if your food comes from a factory. So bear that in mind when you're next in the supermarket, because the first two aisles, the fresh fruit and veg and the unprocessed meat, fish and fowl, that's where the best quality food is. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was water. Your musculoskeletal system thrives on being well hydrated, and it's one of the first places to stop working so well when you become dehydrated. I'm sure you will have heard that a 2% drop in hydration can reduce brain function by 10, 15, 20%, but also a really small amount of dehydration can lead to lethargy. Can lead to you feeling really tired in your musculoskeletal system, and when you feel tired, you're gonna start creeping into these sort of slightly sluggish postures, which is where we spend all of our time on our laptops, and it's not great for our systems. Everything within our body is transported through water, so we tend to spend a lot of time focusing on what's dissolved in the water and miss the nuance of the fact that it is dissolved in water. And that's how it gets around the body. So by keeping your body well hydrated, energy can flow from one part of the body to the other, nutrition can flow, all those healing components can get around and put juice back in the tank that you've been burning off after a long day or a workout, or maybe you need to recover a bit of a knee injury or something like that. Water is what will grease the skids of getting A to B for that for you. Now in terms of the mechanics, your musculoskeletal system absolutely needs an awful lot of water. So if this is your knee joint, if this is your femur and this is your tibia, so you've got your bum at that end and you've got your foot at that end, there's a sac that goes around that joint called a synovial sac. And that synovial sac is hydraulically powered, so while it's well hydrated, it pushes the joint heads away from each other and they glide without really ever making much contact. When you get dehydrated, one of the first mechanisms in the body to lose its fluid is that synovial sac. So when that becomes dehydrated, the joints start banging on each other when you start walking around, and that's when you get excess wear and tear, and that's when stuff starts to wear out. So one of the first things I say to any client that I get who's got joint pain is, how much water are you drinking? Because it might not solve the problem, but it's very unlikely that you will solve the problem if you're not drinking enough water. So your spine as well, for example, I'm just going to pick up my spine. Your spine, these discs, these intervertebral bodies, they are also hydraulically powered. There's a disc bulge there where the lining of the disc, the lamina of the disc, has got so worn and torn because the discs have been dehydrated, and they can then wear out. So instead of them being pumped firmly apart from each other and they move on this firm, well hydrated disc that sits in the middle, then they get dehydrated, they can kind of slide around, and the lining of the disc wears out, and eventually a bit too much pressure and pop, we get a disc bulge that starts pressing on a nerve that leads to that dull ache across the low back and can lead to referred symptoms down the legs. So again, if anybody ever comes to me with a back problem, one of the first things I say to them is, how much water are you drinking? Because it might not fix the problem, and it has done for a lot of my clients, but it's very unlikely that you will fix the problem if you're not drinking enough water. So how much is enough? Well, the formula that I tend to go by as a good rule of thumb is that we should be drinking about 1 litre of water a day for every 5 stone of body weight that we've got. So I'm about 15 stone in body weight, so I need to get through at least 1.5 of those a day. That's a 2 litre bottle. More if I'm having a workout, more if I had a couple of glasses of wine the night before, more if I have more than a couple of coffees in a day. And the important thing with this is to take little bits frequently. So you're not trying to get through 2 pints at a time or 1 litre at a time, because your body just can't retain it and you'll just pee it straight out. So to have sort of half a pint when you wake up in the morning, half a pint before you leave for work, a couple of half pints through the morning, a couple of half pints through the afternoon, and you can easily fit in that kind of quantity of fluid. And it's also a good idea not to drink a lot of water when you're eating a meal, because what happens then is you dilute the digestive enzymes that you need to break down the meal. So if you're well hydrated when you sit down to eat, your body will produce the fluid that it needs to help the digestive process, and you don't need to do it yourself by drinking more water at a meal. So my first kind of protocol around keeping the body healthy is the easiest fix. You can just go to the tap and fill up a glass and get some inside you, and you'll feel your energy levels come up and a freshness come over you and joint pain dissipate, and you'll get your race car back on the road.